Oh boy, it is back. NFL football is on our screen right now as we get ready to talk about the Cowboys going up to Cleveland and facing the Browns for week 1. And we'll talk about this matchup. Let's get to it. What is up, everyone, and welcome into A to Z Sports Dallas Primetime. I am your host, Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live every Sunday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central, and catching up with you Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday with quick-hitting videos. We are back in regular season mode when we have these conversations while a NFL game is going on the screen. And I know you're watching the NFL kickoff. You might be having prime time on a second screen, maybe the other way around. So I appreciate you being here. We're going to be talking about the Cowboys, though, while we look at the Chiefs and the Ravens go at it from the corner of our eye. I'm excited, man, because the Cowboys play the Browns, and we're going to have a preview show. We'll talk about some key matchups. We'll close with a prediction, a betting prediction, as we do on primetime, as always, as well. But I'm going to start with one topic that has been on my mind pretty much all day long, because I put out a tweet out there. I put out a tweet earlier this morning and earlier this day, and it got some pretty wild responses. I'm not going to lie to you. So I'm going to start with that. And pretty much the theme of the show will be the fact that we are going to find out about Mike Zimmer in this game. And that excites me. Now, I don't mind it. I don't mean it, in a way of saying, like, we're going to know if Mike Zimmer is going to be good or not in one game, because that would be stupid to say when you're talking about implementing an entirely new defensive scheme on a team that has been already successful, but with different looks. But I mean it in the sense that we're going to learn a lot about Mike Zimmer on this one. And that excites me a lot. And that starts, in my opinion, with Kellen Carson. Because I'm going to be honest with you, as I said on Twitter the other day, I think that we might be acting too casual about the fact that the Cowboys will have a 5th-round rookie going up against a wide receiver room that has Amari Cooper in it, that has Jerry Jeudy in it. And I know a lot of people said on Twitter, Jerry Jeudy sucks. He isn't what he is made out to be. He certainly has been disappointing. But I'll tell you this, Jerry Jeudy has been a professional wide receiver for a good while. He's played with some mediocre quarterbacks on his offenses over in Denver, and he has some upside. The Browns liked him during the draft process. That's why they brought him in. So they like what they've got in Jerry Jeudy. And Amari Cooper, you know about him. I don't have to tell you about it. But this tweet right here that you're looking at on screen, by the way, Travis Kelce is amazing. But Kellen Carson, man, has generated a lot of responses to that tweet. If you go check that out at Mau NFL, it's MAU NFL. And a lot of people are very confident in this guy. Now, I won't be against fans being fans ever. But I'm here to tell you, even though I am excited about Kellen Carson, even though I agree he looked great in the preseason and in training camp, even though I think he can survive out there on the playing field, it has the potential to be a mismatch on Sunday. Even if it's Deshaun Watson, blah, 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 this has the potential to be a mismatch. And that's where Mike Zimmer comes in for me. Because John Owning replied to this on my tweet, and shout out to John Owning. He's one of the most awesome people on Cowboys YouTube and on Cowboys Twitter. But he said, the good news is that we've got Mike Zimmer, and he's going to pull some tricks off of his hat. And it's not going to be like the Dan Quinn days. It's not going to be like Kellen Carson is going to be out there playing corner, outside the numbers, isolated, playing man coverage with no safety help. That is not going to happen for the Cowboys in 2024. Kellen Carson is going to have some help. Kellen Carson is going to have a safety behind him for a good chunk of this game. Because believe it or not, Mike Zimmer will bring cover 2 looks, he will bring quarters looks, and he will bring some disguises as well along the way that will make Deshaun Watson maybe hold on to the ball a little bit longer and have to think a little bit more before getting rid of that football. So I think just that matchup by itself will tell us a lot about the way that Mike Zimmer does things. That's on one side of things, right? The other side of it is, who is he going to be facing individually throughout this game? Talking about Kellen Carson here. Is it going to be Amari Cooper? Is it going to be Jerry Jeudy? And for those of you who don't know, Jerry Jeudy moves around a lot, so he will play like 60% of the time in the slot, which obviously would mean Jordan Lewis matching up against him in the Cowboys case. But he will spend a significant chunk of the time out wide. And I would assume that Kevin Stefanski will identify, hey, Kellen Carson is a weak link here. It's not Trevon Diggs. It's not Jordan Lewis. Let's go at the rookie. Let's give him a welcome into the NFL type moment. That's what I would assume Kevin Stefanski is going to target. And I would assume Jerry Jeudy is going to spend a lot of time outside the numbers. So the second question regarding this matchup for me becomes, would Mike Zimmer have Trevon Diggs shadow Amari Cooper? Would he have his top cornerback right now travel with the opponent's best wide receiver? Reached out to somebody who covers the Vikings over at A to Z Sports. Shout out to Tyler Fornes. And he told me, hey, he's done it before. Maybe it isn't his big time kind of like thing for Mike Zimmer. It's not his philosophy. But the good thing about him is that he is versatile. He will adapt. He will not be stubborn in his way of doing things. So I wonder if we might see some shadowing there from number 7 against Amari Cooper. And Cooper is going to come into this one motivated as well, which is pretty obvious, given this is his first opportunity at getting back at the Cowboys after he was traded away for a 5th-round draft pick. So yeah, that matchup excites me a whole lot. I'm wondering if we'll see Trevon Diggs on Amari Cooper, or if it will be just Kellen Carson on his side of the field, Trevon on his, and just let the Browns call the shots as to who will be in the matchup. I think we will see a lot of motion. So I could totally see Kevin Stefanski coming in with a plan where he's like, I'm going to get Cooper on Carson as much as I can, which would make a lot of sense. And again, a lot of people took that as a slight on Kellen Carson, my tweet, but I wouldn't look at it that way. I just think, man, 5th-round rookie on week 1, doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what you did in the preseason, it's going to be a matchup worth talking about. Because obviously you're not facing the same people in the preseason and in training camp that you will be facing in the regular season. Maybe in training camp, right? If they're allowing you to go out there and play versus the ones of the offense and that kind of stuff. But that, to me, is a concern. But I'm excited about seeing Mike Zimmer's problem solving on that front. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's not the only matchup that we are here to talk about. But first, let me say hi very quickly in the chat, man. We've got Katharina. We've got Cami in the room. We've got, I saw Daniel over there, and I saw Joe Gonzalez. Shout out to all of you. Double R as well. Welcome, everyone, into the show. Appreciate you being here for another show of predictions here on Primetime. Now, moving on for other matchups. And hey, Double R says Mo for president of the NFL 2025. But I want the Roger Goodell type salary. If not, don't give me the job. I'm happy here at A to Z Sports. But if you're going to give me the Roger Goodell money, I'll take it. I'll absolutely take it. Now, moving on a little bit here, I'm going to stay on the defensive side of the ball, and I'm going to keep talking about Mike Zimmer here for a little bit. Micah Parsons, to me, is a big topic coming into this game, because you've heard Micah talk about this. You've heard everyone discuss this. Micah is going to move around this season. And the whole idea behind that, the main idea, is not for Micah to be in coverage, right? Like, the Cowboys are not doing this because they want Parsons' coverage skills to benefit them. The reality is they want Micah moving around so he becomes less predictable. So they are able to avoid situations like what happened versus the Packers in the playoffs, where the Packers came in with a perfect plan to deal with Micah, sending, sniffers his way, chipping him, double teaming him, triple teaming him, doing whatever it took to keep Micah Parsons from being the guy that broke the game. The rest of the Cowboys defense did not step up that time, right, where they were sending everything Micah's way. The Cowboys had a lot of one-on-ones elsewhere. They didn't make the most out of that. But that's where the whole idea of moving Micah Parsons around comes from, right? They want to free him up. They want to give him more favorable looks. They want to do all of that. I've come around to the idea a little bit. You know me. I want Micah to be on the line of scrimmage as much as possible. I don't want him dropping back to coverage a whole lot. I want Micah rushing the passer. But I've come around to the idea of him being less predictable, blah, blah, blah. What I will say, though, is I'm not sure this is the game that you want to do that. I'm not sure this is the game where you want Micah Parsons playing off-ball linebacker, and I'll tell you why. Sure, it's an X's and O's game. I get it. But it's mostly, as many coaches have always told us, it's a Jimmy's and Joe's game on Sundays. And the Cowboys might have a perfect mismatch versus the Browns' offensive tackles going into Sunday. And I want Micah exploiting that mismatch as much as possible. What I'm talking about is the Browns will not have Jet Wills for this game. Jet Wills is the starting left tackle of the Browns. And the Browns are going to go about this one of two ways. Number one, they might move Jack Conklin from right tackle to left tackle for this game. Or they might play swing tackle James Hudson on the left side. But either way, they're going to have a backup tackle on either side of that offensive line when the game starts on Sunday. So what I'm thinking is, don't you want Micah as much as you can versus a backup tackle? And sure, they're going to send David Njoku the way of Micah Parsons to chip him and all that, because the Browns do value David Njoku a whole lot as a run blocker. That's something that A to Z Sports Browns writer Brandon Little recently told me for an article that we were working on. And by the way, you can go check that out over at A to Z Sports. But they do value David Njoku as a pass blocker. I think we're going to see a lot of him when it comes to stopping Micah. But I would personally like the Cowboys to treat this more of a traditional game for Micah, where they can put him against the weak link of that offensive line and just pick apart that weakness. Because the Browns have a very strong offensive line. They have a good center. They have good guards. The trouble right now is because of health issues at the tackle, and I would like to see the Cowboys exploiting that. They might still move Micah around a little bit, but this is not the game where I want Micah just playing 30% of the snaps versus the backup tackle. Honestly, I want him there as much as they can get that matchup. Cam, though, need a distraction so that Micah won't get double team, and we'll see how Mike Zimmer goes about that. That's part of the excitement for me. Now, speaking of the defense versus the Browns offense, one of the big storylines going into this one is what in the hell are we supposed to expect from Deshaun Watson? Because honestly, it's so hard to know. Deshaun Watson is not the same as before. I think that pretty much is clear. And forget about all the off-the-field stuff. I mean, for now, don't forget it, because I don't think that would be fair either. But Deshaun Watson is somebody that is not the same passer as when he was with the Houston Texans during his quote-unquote prime, I guess we could call it. Since he got to Cleveland, he's been mediocre. There's been excuses, though, along the way, mostly that he's played under 13 games. I think he's played 12 games for the Browns. He's had a shoulder injury, bugged him for a little bit. Now all of that is gone because he is supposedly 100% healthy. He is ready to go for the 2024 season. And supposedly, with Ken Dorsey coming in, Ken Dorsey, former Bills offensive coordinator, was fired halfway through the season last year, gets to Cleveland as the new offensive coordinator. Ken Dorsey is supposedly bringing in more RPOs looks, more plays where Deshaun Watson goes out of the pocket, more RPO, all of that, right? Option routes is also going to be big for the Browns in this game and moving forward for him. But he's going to be moving around. I think they're going to lean on his legs a little bit more. What does that mean for the Cowboys defense? And, they've struggled against RPOs because cover 3 versus RPOs is just not great, honestly. And cover 1 also provides a lot of issues. But now Mike Zimmer, I think, comes in with a defense that is better equipped to deal with all of that nuance, to deal with all of that modernity to the NFL offenses that the Cowboys are going to be facing in 2024. At the same time, you got to admit, Zimmer has not been coaching in the NFL since 2021. So how does he look like against an offense like Kevin Stefanski's that is up to date, that is getting spiced up by Ken Dorsey? That coaching matchup to me is going to be one of the best things about this particular game. Shout out to Skywalker Steele, as always, killing it with his coverage here in A to Z Sports Dallas. Had a fantastic segment on Jim Schwartz versus Mike McCarthy. You should go check that out. But I think Mike Zimmer versus Kevin Stefanski is as exciting to me as Schwartz versus McCarthy. And I cannot wait to see how these two go about it. And again, the problem solving for Mike Zimmer on this one is going to be fun. Now, if we're tracking how much Parsons is going to move around on this game, you know what I'm also excited about? Just Marshawn Nealon getting his first NFL start. How much is he going to contribute? How much is he going to play just in terms of snap count? What is it going to look like? And yeah, I don't think that the Browns are going to look as menacing, honestly, on this one. When they run the football, they've got some injuries. Nick Chubb out for the first few games of the season. They're going to lean on Jerome Ford once again. They've got some question marks across the offensive line with the tackle trouble. I think the Cowboys defense might have a solid game on Sunday when they go up in Cleveland. Totally set at 40.5. So sportsbooks are expecting a low-scoring game. There's going to be winds at 15 miles per hour. But anyways, I'll turn the page right now, and I'll talk about the offense now. This is where it really might get complicated. But at the same time, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to the Cowboys. Here's why. Browns were one of the best pass defenses in the NFL last year, one of the best overall defenses. Have you looked at the quarterback schedule, though, that the Browns played in 2023? It's not great. So at some point, you got to admit, all right, maybe the numbers were a little bit inflated, right? I'm going to try to Google these very quickly, man, because the Browns season was easy on the quarterback front for the defense. They played a lot of backups. They played a lot of mediocre starters. Didn't face a whole lot. Man, I cannot find the schedule for some reason. Of course, I'm struggling. Of course, I should have Googled this before starting the show. But anyways, I think that the Browns defense takes a step back in 2024 is what I'm trying to say, especially when you go up against Dak Prescott in week 1, it might become evident very quickly. Now, Denzel Ward, pretty good cornerback. I think he versus CeeDee Lamb is going to be such a fun matchup. I think you could totally see CeeDee being shadowed by Denzel Ward. And the thing about Schwartz, the defensive coordinator, is he's not afraid to come up with difficult and creative situations for opponents. The Browns started their season against the Bengals, and then they had like the Steelers, they had the Titans, they had the Ravens, which are tough, obviously, the 49ers, but then the Colts, Seahawks, Cardinals, Pittsburgh again, obviously, Denver again, not again, but Denver. They had Chicago, they had the Jets in week 17, so obviously no Aaron Rodgers. What I'm trying to say is the Browns, I think, are due for some defensive regression, and I think it might be evident right from the get-go. With that being said, I expect more of a defensive regression in the passing game where they were top of the league versus in the running game, because the Browns were decent versus the run, but not that great. They were top 15 in EPA per play versus the rush. They were top 10 in success rate, 10th specifically, but they have Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. I kind of get nervous about messing up that name. He led the linebackers in the NFL with 20 tackles for a loss, 4th overall, including defensive linemen. Jeremiah is pretty freaking good, and he's going to be a factor versus the Cowboys, I think, in the running game. But there's also, it's not just Myles Garrett in that defensive line, although that is like the big matchup that cannot escape us right now, which is Myles Garrett going up against Tyler Guyton. We talked about this at length yesterday in case you want to check that out. I expect Garrett to win that matchup. I expect Guyton to survive it. I expect Guyton to look like he belongs. But Garrett has so much in his toolbox that I think he will be able to beat Guyton several moments in this game when he is just showing off that nuance, that pass rush repertoire that might catch the rookie off guard. But beyond Garrett, they have Zadarius Smith, who graded as the 16th best edge rusher out of 112 by PFF. They have Dalvin Tomlinson, who will not light up the stat sheet, but does a lot of good job. Quentin Jefferson. They've got some dudes, obviously. They've got some dudes. And then they got Okoronkwo at edge rusher in terms of depth. They've got some players that they could exploit the offensive line with. But ultimately, I expect the Browns to take a step back defensively. And the Cowboys might be the perfect team to prove that early on in the season. So before we get out of here, though, let's get into this, man. Predictions. Let's get into predictions for this game, man. And let's see some of your comments right here. Cam says it's going to be a little tough guarding Cooper. And I agree. I absolutely agree. That's why I wonder if Mike Zimmer might have come in with a creative solution just out of nowhere, right? And he might have Diggs shadowing Cooper and that kind of stuff. I'm going to make a confession here. I am somewhat excited about seeing Cooper in his revenge game versus the Cowboys. Just from an objective point of view, I think that's a big storyline because I think it's combined with the motivation. You combine the motivation with the fact that Cooper has what it takes to beat Kellen Carson, for example. So do the Browns win this chess game in terms of getting him in that position in the first place? That's going to be exciting to me. But anyways, let me know your score predictions in the chat right now. Looking forward to reading them. Of course, as always, we do a score. We do a bet as well. And I'm just going to keep it simple for betting the Cowboys this week. I'm going to go with the Cowboys plus 2.5 because I am picking Dallas to win this ball game. I am picking the Cowboys to beat the Cleveland Browns 24-20 in what should be an exciting matchup between two well-rounded teams. I just cannot trust Deshaun Watson to win this game. I just can't, man. Watson has not proven it since he got to Cleveland. And I know we have this in the back of our minds, the fact that he has been a very good NFL quarterback, but it's been a while. And I wouldn't be surprised if everything that he has faced off the field has just, taken a toll on him. I wouldn't be surprised if that's simply the case. It would be a surprise if he gets back to the same level as before. And the Cowboys defense, even with Dan Quinn gone and even with some players gone like Stephon Gilmore, Daron Bland being on IR, I think the Cowboys defense is pretty damn talented. I think the pass rush will get home. I think the Cowboys defense will make some plays in the first Mike Zimmer game. So give me the 24-20 scoreboard for the Cowboys. Catherine has a 32-17 Cowboys. Cam says Cowboys in 2 touchdowns. Oh, wow. Alex Flores says 24-17 Brownies. So we've got our first Browns prediction. Appreciate all of you guys. Thank you so much. It feels good to be back in the regular season. I'm not going to lie. It feels great to be back predicting games and doing all these kind of stuff. The Cowboys play on Sunday. We will talk after that game on Sunday night, 8 p.m. Central. So make sure you tap in, and I will see you over the weekend. Have a good one. Have a good Friday. Have a good Saturday, and I'll see you very soon. Bill hits us with a late prediction, 28-20. Lance goes with the 28-14, More Cowboys predictions than Brownies, which is pretty predictable. But anyways, I agree with you. I got the Cowboys winning. Bye-bye.